Greetings, traveler. If you're someone who is in charge of a game project and you want to know if your project is going to be profitable or not before it goes on sale, typically you will have to make a profit and loss sheet to make a projection to see how much money the project is going to cost and how much you're going to make. So today we're taking a look at this project profit and loss sheet. We're going to take a look at a very simple example, and we're also going to look in this and the next video how to create one yourself. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for 10 years or so, and if you're someone who is walking the path of making video games, this one is for you. So before we begin, let's do some housekeeping. What is a profit and loss sheet? Well, in a simple way, it is a way for you to project how much cost do you expect the project you're working on to have and how much profit you expect the game to have when it goes on sale. So by plotting it out before the game actually goes on sale, you have a clear idea about whether you have the money or not to finish the project, and when it goes on sale, how much money you expect to get in return and how well that compares to the cost that you incurred to make it. So with that being said, let's look at a practical example. So here I have a very simple profit and loss sheet to give you an idea of what you can do with it and the power it has and all the information it can give you before even a project begins sometimes, so very early in the process. So on the top part here, we have the cost part. So what we expect the project to cost altogether when putting together people working on the project, machines, rent, and so on. This will give us a total cost for the project. On the bottom part, we have the profit section of the game. So how much money we expect to make from the game. And finally, at the bottom, we have the amount of money we expect to get when the game goes on sale. We get some revenue, and from that we subtract all the cost we incurred to create the game. So I'm going to be breaking this into two parts. In today's part, we're going to be taking a look at the cost part, and the profit part and the balancing will be part of the next video. So if you haven't subscribed, now is the time to know exactly when this comes online. So let's just jump in. What do we have here for the cost part? Well, there's a bunch of things here and people that incur costs as the project goes on. So we'll have a look at all these things and we'll see how those pan out over the several months the project is expected to take and how we arrive at our total cost. So up here, I have added a sample for the people that will be working on the project. So typically you will need a game designer who might be yourself or might be some other person. And since game designers are pretty integral to the function of the game and to checking the quality and all the different features throughout the game project, typically they are required to be present throughout the development of the game. So in this example, we have a 3-month game project, which is quite short by most standards, but this is just to give you an idea. If your project takes longer than that, you can easily add more months to the process and you can still use the same formula. Next, we have engineers, and again, there's many types of engineers, client or server or more specialized engineers, but for this very short project, I'm assuming there is just one person who will be doing all of the engineering. And since he has quite an important job to do, he will also be present throughout the game project. Next, I have an artist, and you'll notice that the artist will not be present for the whole project. Now, again, this is just a sample case. Maybe in your situation is different, but what happens sometimes in game projects is that before the game goes to full-on production, a prototype is required to show everyone what the game is going to be and what it's going to feel like and so on. And once everybody is feeling confident about the game and that it's fun and they want to move forward with it, then more advanced assets like art and sound and so on are added in the game. It's very rare that all of the art or all of the sound is created before the game is coded in, but it might happen in your case, so this gives you a way to do that too. So for that reason, I have here that the artist is only employed for the months 2 and 3 of the project, and similarly for the sound artist, since there is going to be, as we project, less work for the sound artist to do throughout the project, and we estimate that just by making a few sounds and music pieces, that will be about 1 month of work. Then just employing that person for 1 month should be sufficient based on our sample example here. Another thing you'll notice is that all this list has negative numbers, so minus 5,000 and so on. This is because we want to end up with a minus cost here. Some people like to color code the negative numbers red to make it easier to understand, but that's up to your preference. Also, some people like to have zeros in the spots that there is no cost. Again, it's a matter of preference. Google Sheets can work with zeros as well with empty spaces. So for the sake of clarity, we're going with that. And finally, for the salaries, of course, the salary of every person can be different. So here I have a sample salary for everyone. Of course, you'll need to adjust this according to everybody's actual costs to have a realistic image of what your real cost is going to be in the end. So that about covers the human part of the team. The machine and resources part is down here. So I'm assuming that people will need computers to work on that are purpose-built for the development of this game. Again, you can go into a lot of detail in this and calculate how much money each individual computer costs and calculate all the different specs and all the different graphics cards and processors and how many monitors and so on per computer. But let's keep it simple for this example and say that all the computers together cost $10,000 to purchase. And they are purchased at the beginning of the project. So once they are purchased, there is no need to pay for computers anymore, since this is a one-time cost. Some people like to keep one-time costs like this in a separate section altogether when calculating the cost for this. Others like to do this right at the beginning or right at the end of the project when adding these costs here. So again, this is up to your preference and whatever looks easier to communicate with your team as well. And the same goes for furniture. This again means tables, chairs, cabinets, anything you might need in your office to enable people to work on the game. The next part is for graphics software licenses. So maybe you're working with Photoshop or Houdini or Maya or any other software that you need to have for development. And of course, this can change over time. Just like not all the team members are present throughout the project, perhaps the same happens in the case of the software licenses. So in the beginning, you might have a lower cost of, let's say, just $1,000 for the first 2 months, but towards the end, you need to add things for the artist, specialized software, or sound, and this might change your cost later on in the process. So this is a good way to be agile and change the cost as the project evolves and have a very fine control over how the project cost is represented here for licenses. We are also going to add the promotional costs of the game, which needs to happen before the game goes on sale typically. So again, this is a one-time cost and I'm adding it here. Of course, it can happen later on when the game is more complete. So you have more closer to the final project, rather product, images to show in the trailer, but sometimes the trailer can be purely cinematic, so it can be made independently of the game. So whatever applies to your case, you can adapt and fill in here. Finally, what I have here is the office charges. This is a pretty set and stable cost, since it includes the rent you have to pay for your game development office, the electricity, the water charge, the internet charge, and so on. So typically when you make a sum of all these costs together, they don't fluctuate that much per month. So in most cases, it's safe to keep it all under the same cost and throughout the project. And of course, if you know that you're going to have a big difference in cost, you can add it for that specific month. Or if there's some other big cost, like let's say you have to relocate from one office to the other, and so the cost of relocation and the rent and so on is going to be different, you might all keep it here, or add, let's say, the moving cost to just 1 month. Or you might do the old office cost here and then new office cost for the following months, and keep the moving cost as a separate thing, just like we did with the promotion trailer here. It's up to whatever works for you best. So there we have it. This is a breakdown of the costs. Up to now, I have only filled in numbers. Again, if you're curious about how to format all these values to look like this, so as dollars with the comma here and so on, we do this in Google Sheets by going to Format, Numbers, and if you have a US locale, maybe dollars already set for you. If not, you can go down here to custom currency and select whichever applies to you, and further control the look of the price here. So now that we have all this, it's time to start calculating the cost and see how much this very conservative, very small, light 3-month short project will actually cost. So let's start using some of the sum functions in Google Sheets. Of course, you can do the same in Excel. So we are going to use the sum function to put together the fee for the game designer for the 3 months of the project. By putting together these cells, Google Sheets is nice enough to provide a suggestion that does exactly that, but if it doesn't, you can just type the same thing. And for the 3 months that the game designer will work on this project, he will cost $15,000. We will do the same with the engineer, since Google Sheets is nice enough to suggest it. And it's even offering to autofill the rest. And we can do this with Control Enter. Okay, interesting. Let's try it. Is this correct? So $10,000 for these two, and 5 for this, 10 for this, 2, 7, yes, 5, and 9. Yes, this looks correct. Just in case, I'll do one of them manually, so if you don't get the auto suggestion, you still know what to do. So you want to sum a number of cells, so we're using the sum function, open the parentheses, and then to select the range, click, hit left on the keyboard, select the first cell you want, hold down Shift, right once, right twice, let go of Shift, and now we just close the parentheses, and Google Sheets knows to sum these 3 cells into one for a total of $9,000. So now that we have the individual cost for each category over the 3 months of the project, let's finish this up and calculate the grand total cost of this very light, very small project. We do the same thing, so there's the auto suggestion, boom. So just to be clear, what happened here is Google Sheets auto-recommended we sum cells from F8, so F8 is this one, until F16, which is this cell down here, so it sums up all these. And our very cheap and small and quick game project cost $78,000. Now, depending on what sort of product you're aiming for, this might be cheap, this might be prohibitively expensive, but now that we have this number, we can at least keep it in mind, know where this number comes from, and do any necessary adjustments that we need to go forward. But of course, it's really difficult to know how many adjustments we need to make to bring this cost down. It's really hard to know what to do to bring the cost down at this stage, other than, well, if we don't even have the money to do all this for the next 3 months, then this is already prohibitive. But typically you can delay the decision of lowering the costs or adding to the costs until you have the profit part of the calculation. So now that we have a general idea of how to calculate the costs for the project, we can then take the next step and see how we also see the profit for the project, for the profit and loss sheet, and put it all together in the next video. I'm going to put the link for this form down in the description, so if this is helpful to you, you can go ahead and grab it from there as well. So if you want to know as soon as possible for when the next video with a continuation for this comes out, go ahead and subscribe. Until then, have fun.